Welcome back. Today on the RH Vodcast, we are thrilled to host the incredible Chris Edwards. Welcome. Chris is a entrepreneur extraordinaire, founder and CEO of 3 amazing brands, Honeycombers, HoneyKids, and Launchpad. Her ventures have attracted over 1 million readers every month and consistently generate 6-figure profits. She has over 15 years of industry experience. Chris is a powerhouse founder and coach whose passion lies in helping other entrepreneurs reach their pinnacle. She hails from Byron Bay, Australia, and manages her whole global operations from home. And when not building new businesses, Chris unwinds by playing Connect 4 with her 3 kids and her playful pup Freckle, who we may get a cameo of today. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
It is an absolute pleasure. As our listeners would know, normally we love to dive into people's early lives and what were the kind of sort of childhood or adolescent kind of experiences that helped to kind of mold them into the person that they are today. So Chris, I remember meeting you once and you talked about a story from when you were 11, when your parents couldn't afford to buy you both school shoes and casual shoes. And that created a little bit of an embarrassing situation for you in front of a boy that you liked. But I want to know, were there any other key life experiences that come to your mind when you think of your earlier years, and how have they kind of influenced your passion and drive in your career?
Well, first of all, Tom, you're very well researched. I don't even remember telling you that story. So well done. It is a story that's really dear to my heart and has really had an impact on my life. I grew up on a farm and my parents were business owners. They ran the farm as a business. And I think I always aspired to have their life, which was, I suppose a life where they spent a lot of time out in nature. They didn't have a boss. They worked very hard. They didn't really take many holidays. They didn't make a lot of money, but they loved what they did. And they were just really passionate. And my dad in particular has shaped me considerably because he's somewhat very much like me. Like he's a big character and an extrovert, and he's wildly positive, but he's always said to me, you can do whatever you want. And, I remember when I was on the fence of starting a business and I was really like umming and ahhing and, really, should I do it? And he just said to me, just go for it. What have you got to lose? Yeah. So I feel like his personal culture and the way he sees life has very much shaped me and given me the confidence and the courage to really, I suppose, go after what I wanted, which is a similar life to what he and my mum had, where, they worked together, they worked from home, they would have cups of tea at 10 and lunch together at 12 and a cup of tea at 3. It's really like this nice kind of, I'll go out and do a couple of jobs and I'll come back for another cup of tea and then a beer at 5. And I was like, they've just got this really lovely, relaxed lifestyle. And I think that really inspired me to not want to have a really rush, busy, hectic city, work for the man kind of lifestyle. So, yeah.
I know, fantastic, great for you. I sympathize. Both my parents started their own business, and they had kind of similar lifestyles. Maybe not as much tea though, but I think it does help to have parents that are really, really supportive and kind of help to drive you. So then, I guess after that, you then went out and completed your formal education. You completed your Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in marketing from the University of New South Wales, and then later returned after a few years to pursue an MBA. What drove you to that field of study, and how did your time there prepare you for the professional world?
Oh, that's a really good question. I was always drawn to marketing. I feel like marketing is the most creative element of business. And so I did a commerce degree majoring in marketing. And I think I was drawn to it as well because my best friend was doing it. You know, when you're 18 or 17, that's the reason you make these decisions.
It's a major factor. Yeah.
Exactly. Are the popular kids doing this subject? And I really did enjoy it. I remember really loving economics and marketing. And I'm still in touch with all my old, or a lot of them, my old uni buddies. And some of them have founded really successful businesses in Australia. So it's really nice. I remember actually Facebook did a promo reel one year on International Women's Day, and they filmed me in Singapore as a kind of a, pin-up girl. I was an entrepreneur, female entrepreneur. And then it cut to my uni buddy in Australia in Cooma with her amazing business. And I was like, that is like totally weird. But maybe we had a very good lecturer. But I don't think it had all that much impact on how, like, my, where I took it from there. But I had a good time at uni. It was very fun.
Oh, amazing. And actually, I believe while you did your master's, you were also working as a marketing director for Krispy Kreme Australia, which is one of my favorite donut brands.
It was just after uni, actually. I did work through my degree, but I was doing more administration roles. And then after uni, I got the job at Krispy Kreme, which I totally blagged this job in that my boss got headhunted to go and work at Krispy Kreme, and I was the marketing manager at Deli France, which was another F&B chain. They used to be really big in Asia. I remember boss... You remember it? Yeah. My boss asked me to join them at Krispy Kreme, and I was like, I've got like literally a year's experience. I really don't think I can do this. And she's like, you'll be fine. And Krispy Kreme was a great work experience because I started as employee, probably I think it was like number 8 or 9 in Australia, and so they just brought in a management team to start with, and then they started building the stores and recruiting the store staff. So we were a really small management team working for a lawyer who had just bought the rights to Krispy Kreme Australia and New Zealand, and he didn't know anything about running an F&B business, but he just he headhunted all these, top guy from McDonald's, a top girl from Deli France, which was not me, that was my boss, and basically pulled in this A-grade team, and he was a wonderful mentor to me about how to run a business, and I learnt so much. I made a lot of mistakes, but I really enjoyed understanding how to start, and I also learnt a lot about PR and unconventional PR, which is what Krispy Kreme really was very well known for, which was this kind of guerrilla marketing tactic of just using product samples everywhere, but particularly to the media. So we used to drop donuts to the radio stations and the TV stations, and we just used to have donuts wherever, whenever. One of my jobs in that role was coordinating these, Chrysler vans to drive around Sydney and deliver donuts to people. So, it was a really great role. I learnt a lot, but it was... I think I was there for 4 or 5 years, and it was time for me to move on. Like, I'd learned everything I could learn, and I was ready for the next challenge. But it was, I really enjoyed just directly reporting to someone super senior when I was, at the time, I think I was like 21, 22. So I was reporting directly into he would have been 60 CEO, like years and years of experience. So it was a great way to really level up fast.
I'm sure a smaller management team like that would have helped so much. And then obviously when you came out of that, shortly after, you must have decided that now was the right time. and you and we're going to delve into the roots of your first business, Honeycombers, and its sort of partner, HoneyKids. Can you give our audience a little bit of background before we dive into why you started it? Could you give our audience a bit of background about what Honeycombers is and what it offers people?
Yeah, for sure. So Honeycombers is a digital lifestyle guide. It's kind of like, I think a lot of people can relate to Time Out magazine, but we think we're better. So it's basically a guide to everything that's on in your local city that you need to know about. So it's events, dining guides, travel guides, staycation guides. And yeah, I suppose it's like really getting under the skin of your city and really, I suppose the idea is designed to inspire you to try new things and live your best life in the city or location that you're in. And the inspiration to create Honeycombers was actually a US site that I saw called Daily Candy, and it actually was an email that went out every day, and it was a piece of candy for your inbox, and hence we kind of wanted something sweet sounding, so that's how the name Honeycombers came about. So combing your city for the sweet stuff. But yeah, so it's been, it's a really fun product to work on. So, at the minute, our Hong Kong editor has been attending the top Asia's 50 bars awards ceremonies all week to make sure that we're the first to report on which bars have won from Hong Kong and Singapore. So yeah, very fun, very fun kind of little space to operate in.
Amazing. And which countries do you operate in?
We're in Hong Kong, Singapore and Bali with Honeycombers, and then we have a spin-off site called HoneyKids, which is operating in Singapore. So that's my core business, is the Honeycombers business, which it's so I started it 15 years ago, and it's been a wonderful business, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but I feel like it's given me the platform to be able to do more, new things from having that. I suppose it's just the audience, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think it kind of creates a nice pillar. No, it creates a nice pillar, and then you can kind of jump off from other ideas from that.
Yeah, So someone said to me the other day, like, most businesses just struggle to get audience, and we have a huge audience. Like, we've got so much audience, we kind of don't know what to do with it. So now the opportunity is like, what else do we want to create that we're passionate about, that can deliver real value to people, and also something that you can feel really good about. And that's kind of the measure of what I do now. Kind
of leaving the world a little bit better than how you found it, type thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so delving into the roots of Honeycombers, what made you make this big change? You were 28, 29, you had a great job, and you actually ended up moving countries to found Honeycombers. What inspired this?
Yeah,
what led to this moment?
Yeah, so it's like a series of small disasters, really. So when I was in Sydney working at Krispy Kreme, my husband and I bought this little rundown, century-old terrace house that had original everything. They call it a renovator's delight. There's no delight in it at all. It's just a renovator's nightmare. Anyway, we bought this little decrepitated little terrace house in a really not fancy part of town at the time called Redfern. And
where was this?
In Sydney.
Where in Australia?
It's a location called Redfern. So it's like Surrey Hills was really cool. Paddington's really cool. Redfern is like, the wrong side of the tracks. Well, it was back then. So, I used to call it South Surrey Hills. But it was very much just Redfern. Anyway, so this little terrace house was the catalyst of us moving overseas, because we got a DA approved to do a renovation, and then the quote came in 4 times our budget. And I kind of looked to my husband and said, what are we going to do? And he said, well, my company's opening an office in Singapore. We could just, skip countries and, put the house on ice for a little while. And I said, that's the best idea. Let's do that. We both love to travel. And so we moved to Singapore. And then when I got to Singapore, I actually was quite unemployable because I was earning great cash at Krispy Kreme. I had the golden handcuffs. And when I rocked up to Asia, no one wants an overpaid Australian marketer to sell anything. It's very, very hard to get a job in a local market when actually they want local people to sell products to local people because they understand the market, right? So I ended up getting a job in a publishing house, and it was a really tricky job. I took a GM role at a big publishing house looking after their custom publishing business, and I just hated it. It was just hard work, and it was like the world was against me. It was like tears in the bathroom at lunchtime, like how am I going to get through this? And my husband just begged me to leave the job, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? And he actually saw this business, Daily Candy, blow up in the US, and he's like, you should do this. You are constantly knowing what's happening around town. It's really a marketing / editorial creative business, and you should definitely do this. And so we just started, and I actually started with 3 business partners, all of whom left the business in the first 12 months for various different reasons. And I also, I started in, I think it was December 2008, and in January 2009, I found out I was pregnant. So I was kind of pregnant for the first year with my first baby, the first year we had the business. And so it was, in hindsight, it all worked perfectly. And I remember at the time thinking, I'm really happy working for myself when I'm pregnant and when I'm having the early years of having kids, because I just really loved that flexibility of working whenever I felt like working and, napping or resting or, trying to get some sleep whenever I could. So it did bring the lifestyle, which was, I suppose, always has been the big motivational driver for me with starting my own business.
Amazing. I mean, I guess following on from that theme, building a business, raising a family, both 2 highly demanding things that each have their own unique rewards. Are there any memorable moments where these two lives kind of crossed over?
Oh, yes. Lots of memorable moments. Look, I think the funniest and most I suppose most scarring for me is I'm a bit of a feminist, and so I would bring my baby into work, and I was also like, look, I'm the boss. I'm going to bring the baby into work. If it cries, I'll just breastfeed him in the meeting. I'll breastfeed her in the meeting, but I just remember being in this meeting with some, really young team members. Some of them are male, and I'm just like, look, I'm really sorry. I keep talking, but I'm just going to feed while we're sitting here. And I would just remember me making them feel really uncomfortable. And also this was 14 years ago, right? Times have changed since then. And I remember being at Raffles Hotel and wanting to feed my baby, and they actually asked me to go to a different room. It's totally different nowadays.
Yeah.
But I also remember bringing my baby to a sales meeting. I mean, really stupid idea. I just obviously wasn't well prepared enough to be able to, have enough milk in the fridge for someone else to feed the baby. But yeah, lots of little things like that.
Amazing.
And you
were ahead of the trend.
I was ahead of the trend, and I'm as I said, I am a feminist, and I think my feeling is this might be awkward right now, but this should be normalized. It's not a big deal, and I suppose I didn't want to make people feel comfortable. I wanted to be able to do my business and feed my baby and not have to worry or pump milk to save someone feeling uncomfortable, So it is nice how all of that has changed a lot now. But, I remember those awkward looks and I'm like, I'm really sorry, but this is what's going to happen.
You're going to have to deal with it. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving on a little bit, obviously you've got Honeycombers. It's, amazing at kind of building this huge community now that is massive. Were there any, back in the day, have there been any key stories or experiences where you feel like Honeycombers has had a massive impact on your readers' lives or the community at large?
Yeah, I think Honeycombers has always been very proud to support minority groups of any sort. So, for example, just today I saw one of our writers posted an article about reconciling religion with sexuality. And, I really love the ability to use our platform to make anyone who's a little bit different feel more comfortable and more welcomed in society. So whether it's race, religion, gender, sexuality, and just even things like sex education. Like we have like a sex advice column. It does really well, because there's probably not that many forums in Asia that will talk about sex as openly as we do. But I feel really proud that we can use the platform to normalize all of this stuff because it is really normal, and it's I suppose it's just bringing a little bit more forward thinking to what the conversations should be about, and getting people comfortable in the uncomfortable, So I'm really proud of that.
Sounds like a theme, helping people move forward, I think, to a better world. And nowhere would that have been more important than during the pandemic. Honeycombers, your business is that you go to interesting places and you do amazing things and you let people know what they all were. So during the pandemic and like all these travel restrictions and social distancing measures, how did that affect the business? How did you adapt to these circumstances?
Well, it was a horrific ride, to be honest. We had 1 month where our revenues just dropped 90% from 1 month to the next. But our overheads did not drop 90%. So, I remember just doing a forecast, just going, okay, worst case scenario, we're going to lose this, I think it was like, quite a lot of money. But I was like, this is the worst case, I was constantly doing worst case scenarios. And I think just not knowing how long it was going to go for was the hardest thing. If someone had just told me how long, and it was going to go for, and I presume lots of people in business felt the same way. You can plan for lots of things, but the uncertainty of it all was horrific. But we've now come through actually a lot stronger, and I feel very grateful that we had enough size of business that we didn't have to drastically change our business, and we were able to retain all our key talent. So little things like, because we have a business in Singapore and Bali and Hong Kong, our Bali team, we were able to reassign them to Singapore work for close to 2 years because Bali just completely shut down. So they were pretty much 50% Bali, 50% research, client work, doing other jobs that they could do remotely. But we've definitely come out as a much stronger business, and we've also culturally created, I suppose, lots of things in our business that enable us to work remotely. And we've never been healthier now. So it has been a blessing in disguise, but I would prefer not to have that blessing.
Again, for sure.
It was real trauma. Just the the gut-wrenching feeling, like just the, it literally felt like you're on a plane that was your stomach was up in the air, just not knowing what was happening. But yeah, it's the trauma will be there for many years, I'm sure.
I'm sure it will. Did your team always work from home, or did you have
we had a massive
space?
office. Yeah, we had a massive office in Singapore and an office space in Hong Kong as well. So we had at one point we had an office space for 40 people in Singapore. Like, it was huge. Wow. Our rent was huge. Now we have an office in Singapore and Hong Kong, but people only work 1 or 2 days a week from the office. So we have a really lovely hybrid model, which everyone's really enjoying. It's like the best of both worlds, to be able to go in and see people 1 or 2 days a week and have lunch with a colleague and have that connection, but then also to be able to come home and do focused work without, the distractions of the office, especially because so many of my team are writers, right? So they really love just, being able to write. And when they go in, they're like, I can't get any work done here for sure. So it's worked out really lovely and reduced our overhead significantly. So that helps too.
I can imagine. Okay, so last question on Honeycombers. Is not technically Honeycombers, is HoneyKids, the little sister to Honeycombers. And it seems like you've replicated one successful formula for another age group. What's the story behind it? What motivated you to go into sort of the more child content?
Yeah, it's been really great, HoneyKids, as a business. We went into it because we noticed an opportunity with our clients. So we looked at who was spending money with us, and a large sector was international schools. And we said, let's create a site that we could provide more in-depth content to this specific audience. And interestingly, we did a reader survey recently, and Honeycombers readers said we'd like more kids content. So they're still reading Honeycombers, but we're able to go really deep on things to do with kids and how to choose a school, which is a really big challenge for parents especially expat parents in Asia. School fees are wildly
ridiculous,
enormous, and it's a big decision and a big investment. And so we talk about that a lot, and we actually have an event also that rolls out of that called the International School Fair, which is like usually we have 600 or 700 people turn up to this event that happens twice a year. So it's another really big piece of our business. But HoneyKids has been a great success, and it's been, I suppose, opportunistic, looking at the Honeycombers business and saying, okay, so what else can we do with our audience, or how better can we serve our reader? Because if you don't have kids, you don't really want to be reading kids content. So that's our thought around separating the two.
Yeah, but I hear it went off to a brilliant start. When you first started HoneyKids, didn't it have a huge, a great amount of revenue just before you even kicked it off?
Yeah, we sold 6 figures in revenue before it launched. Like, it was ridiculously popular.
Incredible.
Because there was nothing in the market. It was we were just early, and they were all clients who knew what we did and how we did it. So they knew of the quality that we were going to bring to it. But it was a great start. I wish I could start every business like that, actually.
I wish we all could. I wish we all could.
Yeah, it's a real anomaly.
Okay, let's not quickly, but we'll move on to your next business. Let us transition to the next business that you started up. So after successfully launching Honeycombers and having an incredible start with HoneyKids, you then channeled your entrepreneurial experience into your next venture, which was the Digital Collective, started in 2020. Something you describe as teaching people all the things you wish you knew in the first 6 years of your journey, your business journey. And it seems like a natural progression for you based on your experience with Honeycombers. Can you tell us a little bit more about the catalyst behind starting this new venture?
Well, I think the catalyst was the pandemic, and I was panicking, thinking I need different revenue streams that aren't focused on lifestyle being something that people can spend money on, and really diversifying my revenue streams. So part of the reason the pandemic was so scary for me was I actually became the sole breadwinner during the pandemic for our family. Which was a good decision, but the timing was terrible. It was exactly that month where we dropped by 90%. But, you know, it was the right decision for our family. We had 3 kids at primary school at home that needed homeschooling. And, yeah, we had a lot going on. And my husband and I just decided that one of us needed to be more focused on the kids, and maybe it would be better for us just to have one parent working. And so my husband stopped working. And so, yeah, that really put a lot of pressure on me to think, well, if another pandemic crops up, and it's not crazy to think that something else as wild as COVID wouldn't come along again, I just wanted to have some different revenue streams that weren't. So the issue with Honeycombers in the pandemic is if people couldn't go to restaurants or bars or events, then none of those businesses could advertise with me. So, it was, as I said, a hair-raising experience. And so, it was really diversifying my revenue streams was the objective with Digital Collective. And I also do really enjoy digital marketing. I really, it's something I am wowed by with the software and the strategies, and it really does interest me. So it is a passion area of mine. But I didn't run it for very long though. We ran it for maybe a year and a half, and I pivoted again and again. But it's, you know, I think to have successful businesses, you've got to have a lot of failures along the way. So they're all just stepping stones to success.
Yeah. And how different was it running? I mean, you mentioned you pivoted twice. How was it different compared to the media businesses?
So it was quite similar. What I didn't love about it was it's quite intense client work. So you get paid a lot, but you are servicing a lot to clients, and you're really embedded in their business, driving their marketing for them. So it's kind of similar, but I love the Honeycombers business model because we're actually able to really standardize what we do and make it really easy to really scale the business, actually. Yeah. So we have at Honeycombers really quite clear standard products of what we sell, which enables us to expand and grow with ease.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit more flexible with the coaching element to it. So I guess that must have, in some way, led you to your next venture. A love of coaching, love of community, something that's a little bit more, product being sold is more of a membership. And that is Launchpad, which is started last year. Which is a community dedicated to entrepreneurs and provides a platform for networking, mentoring, and learning, a community that I'm proudly a part of. You describe it as the kindest community on the network, which I think is very, very lovely. And it offers everything from live business coaching to masterclasses to co-working spaces and so on and so on. And the stats on the community are impressive. 88% report amazing personal development. 74% say it's helped their mental health. 73% say they've experienced business growth. And a whopping 89% would recommend it to other entrepreneurs. Incredible. So I'd love to know what made you think about starting a community like Launchpad from scratch, especially in markets where there are already plenty of communities out there.
Yeah.
What made you go for Launchpad?
It's a really good question, and particularly in Hong Kong, there are a lot of community groups, particularly for women in Hong Kong. And actually, one of our members, I should name and shame her. She's a client of ours, Sarah Garner at Recycle. I rang her and I said, I've got this idea. What do you think? And she was like, oh, Chris, it's pretty saturated up here. I don't know, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. And I spoke to a few more people as my very limited market research. And I'm so happy that, you know, Sarah's now a subscribing, paying member of Launchpad, and she has received funding from attending our pitch festival. So it has significantly helped her business. So I'm so thrilled that someone who, you know, was quite skeptical and was telling me it's not a great idea has actually become a brand advocate and has seen it create real benefit for her business. But the question of why did I do it? I think I really strongly believe in the value a community can bring to business owners. And I am actually honestly pleasantly surprised with how much impact we've had. And I don't mean just with impact on members, which we do get, you know, lovely feedback. I was in Asia in June and, you know, I had members coming up to me saying, I've 5x'd my business since I've joined Launchpad, or I never had the confidence to do public speaking and now I've done a masterclass. And, you know, there's a lot of feedback from the members, but, you know, like as a seasoned entrepreneur, I've got 15 years under my belt. Launchpad has helped me in my business. You know, I found a rock star accountant that has just changed night and day my confidence with what we're doing with our books. I have found an absolute rock star marketing gun who I've just employed to help me. And yeah, I just love actually the personal community of people that will ping me. I got an email this morning. Hey, Chris, I've got a friend who is thinking of setting up a business in Bali. I remember you saying don't do it unless you have to. You know, what's your advice or what should she do? And, you know, I've got these relationships all over Asia now that are really... They're actually really deep relationships where you've just got friends in all these businesses that ask for help, and likewise you can ask them for help, and it makes everything feel easier and less lonely and more fun. But yeah, I really believe in community, and when I was really struggling with the challenges of COVID, I mean, community pulled me through. I you know, created community around me in Byron, and yeah, it really made a wild impact on just my mental health, to be honest, to just be able to, you know, have the resilience to keep going and the faith that it's going to get better and that you can do it. And you know, like, I think that's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is the resilience and the courage and the mental challenge. So I think community plays a massive part in being able to tackle that challenge. So yeah, I'm super, super thrilled with what we've achieved in a year, and I'm kind of really wildly excited about where this can go, or where it is going, you know. So yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, talking about where it's going, where do you think it is going? You know, given all of this success and impact, what plans do you have for expanding or enhancing this community?
Well, we're in the process of launching into Australia, and I was just telling you before we started recording, we put a call out for founding members into Australia, and I think we've had 10 people sign up in the last 2 hours, which is so cool. Australia is a big market, and it's an interesting market because it's definitely, again, like Hong Kong, got a lot of membership groups already. But I'm excited. I think our community is so heart-led, and I personally am very invested in helping every member, as is our team. I do think it's quite a remarkable experience as a member, and I think, I think like we could easily create the biggest entrepreneurial platform for Southeast Asia. That would be where I think we'll naturally end up. We hit 450 members in our first year, and I can't see it slowing down. Not with the feedback we're getting and the results we're getting. So, yeah, I think I'm in for a wild ride.
I think you are as well.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Oh, I think what you're saying, I think rings, very true. I think it is so important to have such a supportive network. And I think especially entrepreneurs, it can be a lonely ride sometimes. I read on your LinkedIn about how you tend to have weekly catch-up calls with your business bestie, and they provide a sounding board for your ideas and problems and things like that. I know you touched a little bit upon why community is so important, especially I guess for our mental health. But do you want to maybe dive a little bit deeper on why you think it is so good to have some people around you that you can use, potentially for mentorship or just as kind of more direct support?
Yeah, so when you start a business, there is so much you have to learn. I mean, if you think about it, if your whatever your profession is, if you decide to take that into a small business route, you're an expert at your profession, but then you have to learn marketing, sales, legal, IT, tech, AI, finance, and then HR, managing people. There's so much to learn, and it's forever changing. So I just think, you actually can't really be across it all. But if you have people that you can trust, that you can call on, or you can jump into a mentoring session and just ask a question, you can put a lot of fears at bay. And yeah, I suppose that goes back to the mindset thing. If you've got the confidence that you're doing everything legally and you're within your legal rights to do this, or if a customer comes down hard on you for whatever, just to give you the confidence to know what you can and can't do or how to do things. So I definitely think, it feels like a no-brainer. And the other big thing is it's really low cost, it's a very small investment to give you this safety net and this comfort. And I suppose it's like hard skills and soft skills and also mindset. So it's just so encompassing. And I think that's why we're seeing such great results. And I recently had a marketing person come in and have a look at our numbers. And she said, the most amazing thing about Launchpad is people join the community, but they never leave. Like a normal membership has a retention, or what is it called? A churn rate of 5%. Our churn rate is 0.4%. And considering you think about how many people in our community would be moving countries, and we have had a few people resign their membership because they're moving back to the UK. We've had 2 of those actually. But yeah, we're at 0.4%. So I feel like we are delivering the value, we're getting the right feedback, and that just fuels you to want to keep going and keep delivering more and keep chatting to your members. And you're so fueled by this positivity, it's hard not to, just over deliver, it's just a joy, and the feedback loop is wonderful. So I think it's a real secret sauce if you can have a team that's so passionate about doing what we're doing, because it's such a wonderful role in life, helping others and helping people get unstuck and to avoid the pitfalls that you have been in. I can totally relate to the feeling of being just really scared or really overwhelmed. The journey is rough, but it doesn't have to be that rough. I think we definitely smooth the edges.
You definitely do.
That's good to hear.
And I agree. I've talked to so many Launchpad members that are in Europe. There's some in Japan. And it seems like Launchpad isn't just contained to, the Hong Kong, Singapore, Bali, Australia market. It is very global. Yeah. But you've been doing more than Launchpad to help people kind of confront so many of these issues that business people, that as entrepreneurs we face, and we kind of get a little bit nervous about. I totally relate with, trying to understand legal issues and making sure that everything's done properly. And one of your latest initiatives is starting your own podcast. That is, I think is an amazing way to take this huge audience and really try and give great advice behind running a business. Do you want to share a little plug for the Good Business podcast?
Thank you. Yeah. So the Good Business podcast really started as an interview series to interview inspiring entrepreneurs that were in impact businesses across Southeast Asia. So I'm really intrigued by these incredible minds that think, let's do a business, but let's make sure that business is really positive for people, the planet, and the profit line. And so, it started as an interview series, and then we rocked out a 10-minute episode on how to scale, and that went quite gangbusters. So now I'm doing an interview every fortnight, and every other fortnight I'm doing a 10-minute episode on just how to. So this week's was how to find a mentor. But one of my most popular ones is how do you scale your business? Like, how do you go from making some money to making, serious coin? And I really enjoy the how-to episodes there. They get great response. But I also really love the deep dive into chatting with inspiring entrepreneurs that are really, making remarkable businesses, and their brains are fascinating, and it's a real honor to be able to sit down with them and ask them all the questions, which I'm sure you would understand how much of a joy that is, to get under someone's skin and really learn, what keeps them up at night, and how does their brain work? Like, what are they worried about? What are they thinking about? And how do they make big decisions? So it's a wonderful project, and I'm thoroughly getting a lot out of it personally. But it's a lot of work, podcasting.
Oh yeah, it is. How have you found it's taking up? Is it taking up quite a bit of your time at the moment?
Yes, it is, but I do love it. It's like another child.
Amazing, and I completely agree. It's amazing talking to all sorts of incredible entrepreneurs and learning about so many of the issues that we face are pretty similar, even though it doesn't always seem like that on the surface. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the episode. I have one more question for you. It's a little bit stereotypical, but I think it's always important to see what our interviewees prioritize most out of everything. So if you had just one piece of advice that you could give to aspiring entrepreneurs or business owners or people just interested in creating their own business, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Really tough, but one that I'm really loving at the minute is imagine if it goes even better than what you expected.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, particularly women, discount the upside and don't think big enough. And I think we all need to be thinking bigger, because we're only limited by our own vision. So imagine if it could go better than you expected is what I want to share with people.
I think that's lovely. I think people focus on the negatives as well. So I think that's an amazing piece of advice. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. I thought it was pretty inspiring hearing about all the different businesses that you've started, all the different ventures. It's incredible. I've learned loads. And if people want to dive deeper into your world, Chris, how can they get in touch with you? How can they find out more about you?
Well, if you're an entrepreneur, I encourage you to check out, it's www.thelaunchpad.group. And in Australia, it's thelaunchpad.group/AU. And follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I love making connections. So on Instagram, I'm Chris Edwards Honeycombers. Sorry, that's LinkedIn. I'm Chris Edwards Honeycombers. And on Instagram, I'm Chris_Edwards_AU. But yeah, feel free to connect to me because I just think we should all be more connected, and the world is a weirdly small place, particularly in Southeast Asia. So yeah, we're probably 1 degree of separation already.
Yeah, probably only 1 degree. I know in Hong Kong, that's absolutely it. You always know someone. Amazing. Thank you very much again for coming on, and thank you for everyone for listening. If you enjoy our show, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And as always, thank you for tuning into our podcast today. Thanks, everyone.